so many that lost their businesses during that time. Hello and welcome to our TV show. It's so nice to be here and to be able to share the information that both Nina and I are going to share. Nina, I'm happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Becky. So glad to be here.
Awesome. So, Spotlight Publishing, our main goal is to help those that have authored a book or considering to author a book to really take their books into where they're seen, where you're heard, and your books are read. And part of the whole thing that we have discovered with authors is that we can get them to #1 bestseller. We can do a ton of things that will help them gain exposure, but they have to keep it up. There's a lot of marketing tools and resources that is available. And I always call it getting lost in the cobwebs of cyberspace if you're not marketing your book and using your book as a tool for business growth. So that's why we have invited Nina today. We're working together on a big project that we're really excited about, but I wanted to give Nina Venturella a proper introduction. For 30 years, Nina has been blazing trails and changing people's lives as an entrepreneur. She spent 26 of those years in the weight loss and wellness industry, helping people lose weight and achieve health and wellness through her company, Majestic Wellness Academy. Nina has traveled the world, touching and changing lives through her dynamic ability to inspire change and coach people through their problems to a better tomorrow. Extensive background in the lymphatic system, cleansing and getting the root cause of sickness and disease by unlocking toxicity in all areas of life. But she has gone on to do some other things right now, and she is also an award-winning author, a public speaker, founder, CEO, and franchiser, and has a podcast show and many other amazing things that we need to have her tell us about. And Nina, is it Nina or Nina?
It's Nina. Nina, that's okay, Becky.
I started smiling as I introduced. Well, maybe I didn't say that right. I know
that's okay.
That isn't right.
That's
so
okay.
Give a proper introduction for what you're doing now.
So, since COVID hit and I had to reinvent myself like a lot of other people did, and with the understanding that my entire business was about touching people, that actually flatlined. So I created a program where I help other people create their own IP. And IP is basically intellectual property. And I do it through a series of different ways of doing it. One is I help them create their own methodology. I call it the 0 to Hero methodology. And I created a program called One Box Fits All. And really what it does is I could take anybody in any area of their life and help them create their own intellectual property, their own proprietary process, put a name to it, give them a look and a feel to it, a brand, help them with their logo, really make it become a tangible piece to who they are, what they're about, and what they offer, and then take them into either become an author, a speaker, or a licensor. So the other thing that I know how to do really well is franchise and license. I had several franchises in the wellness industry. And everything I've done, again, has been from that 0 to Hero methodology, getting that, that gifting of the lymphatic system. And that was my signature process called Extract, and then taking that into wellness centers and franchising them, and then going from there to an academy and teaching that around the nation. I'm like, well, why couldn't I do that? Help people create their own IP, help them become a household name, go global with coaches, because I've coached people with employees. I have 49 employees. I've had healers that I've coached and when they were doing my process. So I'm like, I know how to coach. I know how to empower people and really give them, insight into a direction or path that they should go. I see the aerial view of somebody by digging and asking questions, the right questions, and then helping them pull it all together and streamlining their genius, and then helping them create their own intellectual property, and then going from that, either that direction of speaker, author, or licensor.
It's so beautiful what you're doing, because I think that there's only one of us, and only one of us that have our own unique special message. And I talk about the power of storytelling. I talk about the importance of standing up and standing on our story instead of in our story. But each one of us have our own unique life experiences that bring us the wisdom that we have. And until we can learn how to really to tap into that and use the tools, we're living in an amazing time, because we have so many tools available to us. And so with those tools, we can brand ourselves as very uniquely who we are. And our message is not for everyone. Our message is for unique individuals that need to hear the message that we have. So it's understanding who is that target audience. And if you can speak to the one, you can speak to many. So, and reach many. So how does your process work? With your coaching? And now, as an announcement today, Nina and I are Nina and I are, I have 3 friends that are actually 4 friends that they all say Nina, and you all spell it the same way.
Oh,
so it's
Nina. Funny.
And I'm just like, oh my God, it's in my brain.
That is hysterical, Becky. I didn't know you had 4 friends with that same name. Wow.
Yeah, but they all pronounce it differently than you do, and I just
that's so funny.
So we're joining forces because I work with all the authors from the very beginning stages of really getting that book written, and really doing a really great showcase to help them get that book out to the world, and a really good book. But the pieces that we wanted to address is all the background stuff that will set you up for success, and your branding and all the other that IP, so that if it's in place when you launch a book, it's going to be so much better results. And so let's talk about that process.
So and I'm glad you brought that up, because the blue ocean, where you want to have your own unique individual program that no one else has. So for an example, I had this process extract. Nobody else had it. Now there's other lymphatic techniques out there, but mine was unique to me, right? And to what I did and the way I did it. So anybody who wanted to learn extract, they had to come to me or somebody I taught. So I had, 80 instructors around the nation. So if they wanted to learn it, they come to me or them. And then I had hundreds of graduates. And what that does is it puts you in a really unique place where you're above the competition. There's no competitions. People are like, well, who's your competition? I'm like, well, there's lymphatic technique competition, but there's nobody who does exactly what I do. So what I want to do is I want to pull that into our authors and help them create their own IP that helps them not only become higher level authority, but also gives them a monetary position as well. We want to monetize our genius. And so I want to help them take their book as their authority and then monetize their genius by helping them with their high ticket programs, helping them with their lead programs, helping them get to that next level so that they have not only the authority, but they can monetize it. They have their own intellectual property. They're above the competition, and it makes them uniquely who they're called to be. And then pulling out their destiny, helping them see their gold, and then helping them fine tune it, whatever that looks like. Maybe they're a speaker. Maybe they want a license. I believe everybody can license something. I haven't met one person that I can't license one of their geniuses. And I can see it and I'll say, okay, have you ever thought about putting it in a box and licensing it like this? So I love that opportunity. And to me, that's challenging. I really use my creativity, innovation, which I really believe I have a gift for, to be able to help people find that in them and then pull it out. Sometimes we don't see it in ourselves. We need somebody else to come and see it for us.
Absolutely. And what's exciting for me is I'm just getting ready to work with one of your clients.
Yeah.
And what I am enjoying about that, after having a conversation with him and with you, is that he comes to the table much more prepared.
Yeah.
Because all of that stuff, all of those things are set up in the background and already taken care of. His book is like the icing on the cake. and will serve him really well. And oftentimes what I encounter with my authors is they don't have a website yet, or maybe they just have something that represents something different than what they're doing. They don't really have a good social presence. They're brand new in this field, and it's difficult. It takes a lot of work for them to really, even pull those pieces together. And I have support people that I have joint venture partners that I work with on it. But a lot of times there's a mindset behind it as well, is in that they don't realize their true intrinsic value and what they're bringing to the world and how unique it is only to them. And so this is one of the pieces that I feel is the missing link, kind of that would truly make a big difference to help set them up for success. I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, it's exciting for me to meet somebody and, ask them a few questions, and then and the way I do it is I ask questions and then I say, well, what's the backstory to why you answer that way? And then really help pull out their genius, because a lot of what their genius is where they've overcome, where they've thrived, where they've had major successes in life. And so pulling that in and streamlining, and then also a lot of coaches, what I find, and even authors, they go to course after course after certification after certification, and they have all this amazing knowledge, but they don't know how to pull it in. So be able to take that methodology and then pull all that stuff that they've learned and put it in within that methodology is really pretty interesting too, and start to see it all evolve. And then they have their 5 points of who they are and what they're about, and what they could bring to the table. And then we create a name for it. We give them a logo, we give them a website, we give them a brand, and then we help them with content, help them create their high ticket program, help them with their crafting their stories, helping them with stages, becoming a speaker, depending on the direction and path they want to go. And I always say, well, where are we going? What's your destination? What does it look like long term? So if I know what it looks like here, I stay the path. So if they say I want to be a speaker, then everything I do from the methodology on aligns with them being a speaker. If they say, well, I want to be an author, okay, then everything I do aligns with that path, right? Or if I want to be a licensor, exactly. So that's kind of where it is.
But on the same note, many authors want to do kind of a combination type of thing, which is speaker, author. There's a whole combination, because in my mind, being a speaker and an author go hand in hand.
Absolutely. And a coach.
They all go hand in hand. Yeah. And usually, and as a rule, those are the type of people I serve.
Same here.
They have the biggest, they have the dream. They know what they have. They have so much. I think for what I've observed with my authors and having experience for myself is there's something that's just like continually speaking to you. I need to get this book written. I need to get my message out to the world. So how do I do that? And most of us, there is a plethora of stuff available to us, and you can spend all your time trying to figure it out, taking courses, attending events. That gets very expensive too.
Yes, it does. I know firsthand. I've done it.
And I've done it so many times. And so this is where what Nina and I are working on is to pull together something that is in one package where you get all of these moving parts, to where when you're ready to go to that step of bringing your book to the world, all the parts are together. And you're not having to kind of, okay, now what do I do? Yeah. Oh, I need a website. Oh,
Exactly. And there's a timing. There's a real timing to it. So what I find is a lot of coaches or authors, they do a website and then they expect everything to work from the website. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. There's other pieces that have to come in place for that website. So there's a timing for the website. So they'll spend $10,000 on a website. I'm like, yeah, but you weren't over here. So I equate it to having a house and having no walls, no floor, no ceiling, but just furniture. So you have the furniture, but you don't have anything else. So you're wondering, why is this not working? Well, because you can have a house without walls or a foundation. And so a lot of people put the cart before the horse, or they're not really sure which way to go, because they took a course that says you need a website, or they took a course that says you need good content. So there's a way to streamline this, so there's an order to it, so that you're doing exactly what you need to do to get to that end result. And that's why Becky and I coming together is a great thing, because she can work with somebody over here on the book and then say, okay, now they're ready for you. Or I could work with somebody over here on the book and say, okay, now they're ready for you. So I do pieces what she doesn't do. She does things that I don't do. So it's a great marriage. And so that's why we came together.
That's perfect. So explain, so our listeners have kind of a good way to tap into this and understand the process. Say somebody comes to you right now. What is your process, and what specific items do you bring to the table, and how do those work?
So the very first thing that I do is I do a strategy session with them. I want to get to know them. So I ask several questions. First of all, like, what is your outcome? Who do you serve? Where do you feel your brilliance is? And then what have you done so far? Where are you currently in the scheme of getting to your destination of what we just talked about? And what pieces do you feel are missing? And then I kind of go through that process with them. And then I say, okay, and I'm listening for certain things that maybe pop out, like maybe words that they're saying or a theme that I see or something like that. And then I start to just kind of jot it down. And then I ask more questions like, okay, so you answered this way. Now, what's the backstory to this? And then as they're answering that question, again, I'm listening really well and I'm writing down certain things that I see that they're really skilled at, or they have brilliance that maybe they didn't pick up on, or something that is just a normal thing for them that they don't realize how awesome it is. And I'm like, hey, do you realize that you're doing this? And to be able to really help people see their gold and let it shine before them, maybe sometimes for the first time, is really exhilarating. And then giving them a clear path and direction on how to get to that goal. So we start with a strategy session. That strategy session is about 45 minutes. It's 100% free. And just get to know the person, ask the questions, see where they are, see where they want to go, and then pull together a roadmap to help them get there.
Perfect. And so in that roadmap, what does that typically look like?
It's all the moving pieces. So depending on the destination, if it's a licensing, well, then we have to create your IP so it's ready to license. So that means everything that we do has to be duplicatable so that we can license to other people. So the way that I do that is very different than somebody who wants to be a speaker. So, okay, you want to be a speaker. So now everything we do has to align to you getting stages, crafting your story, making sure that your story has CTAs, tools, and resources available with call to actions, things like that. Looking at the stages, looking at the meeting planners they're going to be meeting with, going into those pieces. Again, after having that questionnaire filled out, because there's a questionnaire, and then I do the strategy session with them, and I do like a roadmap. Then I give them a clear direction and path on where to go with all the different moving pieces and the timelines with it.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. And so for instance, if somebody just wants to be a coach, what kind of the back end items do you set up for them? Because one of the things that I see is we do have the combination of they're a speaker, a coach, and an author, and yet it's like a scramble and to pull the pieces together. And how do I talk to these meeting planners, and how do I do this, and am I a paid speaker or am I a free speaker? What's the big picture of this look like?
So I've actually studied under one of the world's biggest speakers, and I've done all those workshops and stuff like that. So his name is Pat Quinn on Crafting Your Story, and Pete Vargas under Advance Your Reach. And I spent some time with them in their workshops. And so I've taken a lot, and I spent a lot of money doing that. And I've taken a lot of that knowledge and I've applied it to some of the things that I do. So it's kind of like a hodgepodge of what they've done and what I'm doing. And it's just becoming this really amazing program where they have their own booking agent, and I help them with some of their scripting that they've done, and we kind of customize their scripting. So we'll do some mailings, and then we'll do some scripting of emails. And I have my booking agent research different stages for them. And just help them. And then in the beginning, I also help them craft their story. It's a 4-part video series. Within that, I help them build their content, their library content with their, maybe their content and their courses. I'm also now doing master classes and high ticket programs, where we take business books and we can actually help create a high ticket program for an entrepreneurial C-level person. So let's say somebody's in the wellness industry and their end user is maybe somebody like a massage therapist, but what they're offering maybe massage therapists can't actually afford. Maybe it's a high ticket program. So taking that high ticket program for somebody like an entrepreneur or C-level that can't afford it, and matching those audiences. So we can go to different audiences with your same program. So let's say we have a healing modality, but it's IP. You can go to massage therapists, but then we also tweak it so as a high ticket program, so you can go to entrepreneurs at the same time. Does that make sense?
Right.
So it's just tweaking. It's not changing your message. Your message is your message, but it's just tweaking the audience and the right fit audience for your offer. So it's creating a different offer and going through the descension, not the ascension. So we start at the high level versus the low level. Elon Musk did that. He started at the high and then he worked down, and he's one of the top companies out there. He did something opposite that everybody else is doing. And I believe if we could stay outside the box of what somebody else isn't doing, then we've actually are in that blue ocean where no one else is it. Like I told you about the extract. So I want to get people into that blue ocean. I want to get people outside the box. I want to get people looking at it from a different perspective and outlook of maybe what they're used to, and say, well, what if we took it at this approach? What would it look like then? What if we said, instead of taking your course at $99, what if we made your course $10,000? What would that look like? And how do we create that? So it's really taking them from a different perspective. Does that make sense?
Yes. So you're actually taking the exact same material, maybe adding some extra little goodies to it, but the basics is the same.
Yeah.
But you're reaching a different type of audience who can afford what you're offering. And for instance, on your extract that you mentioned, instead of the therapist, you're going to the
naturopaths or chiropractors,
actually into the clinics that have people that are working for them, so they can purchase it and then make sure that their therapists are trained.
Exactly. And so they could actually even take it as a license.
Right. And so they're able to charge their therapists that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then train their team too.
So I know you have a client that is coming to me that will be publishing a book through Spotlight Publishing. What is his area of expertise, and kind of give a real life example of just what you've done with him and how that journey has been.
So Vince and I'm just going to say his name, really awesome guy. He's a business consultant. He specializes in the glass, like construction glass industries, in the construction industry as a business consultant. He's really well known in that space. And he has quite a bit of a level of authority. And so when I came to him, we talked mainly about licensing with him, and he loved that idea. And we also talked about getting his course together so we can scale him, because he wasn't scalable. I said, well, let me ask you a question. If you, God forbid, something happened, you had to step aside, would your business continue? He says, absolutely not. He goes, it's all me. And I said, okay, so the first thing we have to do is figure out how to scale you. So we did something called a playbook. We created this huge playbook with different types of phases. I said, well, walk me through somebody who's in crisis, because he works with businesses in crisis in that industry, in the construction, glass industry, tile industry, all that, right? Mm-hmm. And he goes, well, I do a consultation with them, and then I put together an analysis, and I look at these different areas, people, process, all that. I said, okay, and how do you do that? He goes, well, I do a one-on-one with them. I said, okay, so if something goes wrong and you can't make it, it's all you. He goes, yes. I said, so, okay, the first thing we want to do then is we want to scale the beginning process. So what does that look like? Is there a discovery? Is there a profiling? Is there analysis? He goes, yeah. So we created all those pieces. Some of it is through an app. Some of it is through, some PDFs that he created, but we created those pieces, which is the beginning stages of working with somebody in phase one. And it's all scalable. Some of it's video. Some of it is PDFs or white papers, but it's all duplicatable, so that because remember, his goal was to license, so that everything we're doing now, we're doing it from the license standpoint. So he literally could take this box and say, here you go, Mr. Glass man, here is the program that I'm telling you about. And you could pull it into your program. It's a plug and play turnkey program. And so we've developed that through this playbook, and we phased it out. I said, okay, great. What's phase 2 look like? And then the beauty part about it is it doesn't matter if they come in at phase 1, 2, 3, or 4. He's got it all lined out. So wherever they are, they can fit in, and it's scalable. And that means all the content. We've done his videos. We've done his scripting. We've done all his, everything he needed to do to get his colors and his brands. We did his logo. It's called Sir Thrival Gear. It's businesses in crisis in his industry, and it takes them through like a survival. And so it's like his logo is really cool. It's like a camouflage army logo. And he talks about the different seasons that businesses go through. It's really cool. And then his book represents that, but his playbook, and then we did a 4-part ebook series with him. And so now, Becky, you're pulling all that together. But that's really what we did. And we did all that ready to go with you within 5 months, which is pretty quick if you think about it.
It is.
Yeah.
That's very quick.
Yeah. So it's not something that it took forever. I mean, literally, he can go right now and license everything he does because we've set it up to that point within 5 months. I don't know any companies that can do that really that quickly to where you can start to see major traction, have something tangible, and have an IP that's that established that somebody else wants. And he's already validated his program, so he's got people wanting to do it already.
So has he got a real, for those, it sounds like Vince is really already knows his stuff so well, but for somebody, I have an author who's doing a 4-book series, brand new. He's been in the very high end in the medical profession as in a nursing, over a lot of nurses. And now he's doing this book series called Healing Burnout. So he's not an entrepreneur. He does not get the entrepreneur port, but he has some really cool stuff that this could really serve him well. Yeah. And so what do you do with an individual that's just starting in those beginning stages? And, really knowing, because he actually during COVID lost his job, and he's going back to the major hospitals, and he's got a couple of job interviews coming up, but he's also, I think his heart is calling him to do something different in a different way. Yeah. And so there's just a lot of nervous energy that's going into it. So before you answer that question, let's take a quick break, give you a chance to get a drink of water. I'm making you speak a lot. So we'll take a quick break, and then we'll dive into the answer to that question.
Okay, sounds great.
Thank you.
Geez, Becky, all I want to do is dance. That music was like, woo, raise the house.
I know. I was on, actually yesterday, I was on the suicide prevention show. I was a speaker on her summit. There were 24 of us, but she had every break. She had the best music, and I'm just in the background. We're talking about a really serious subject, but we're all dancing in the background.
Sometimes you just got to dance.
Yeah.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want me to answer that question?
Yes. Let's go into the answer of that question.
I love that question because I have been a person who loves challenge. I'm not a monotonous person. I like change. I've adapted really well to change. So COVID for me to change has not been an issue. But where I have to start with somebody is remember that 0 to hero methodology. I have to start every single person at the same place. They have to start at that methodology, that IP. Now, let's say they have some of that IP. Then I'll just expand on that. And whatever that looks like, let's see where they are. Do they have content? Do they, how do we pull in a high ticket program? How do we, craft their story? How do we help them, build an audience? How do we do that? So it's really just meeting people where they are. But if they're brand spanking new, then they have to start at the ground zero with me. And that's where we create their own intellectual property. That's their methodology. That's the 5 areas of specialty or brilliance that they have. Then pulling together their look and their feel, their logo. That's what I did with Vince. We started from scratch. He did not have survival gear. Even though he was a business consultant, He did everything one-on-one. Everything we did was
Well,
100% from scratch.
that's exactly where what I see happening to most of us is we don't, if I'm not here, who's going
Yeah.
to do the work,
Yeah, exactly.
and that's a very important question, because the same, we all have families, we all have things
Yeah.
happening in our lives.
Yeah.
So I have elderly parents that need to be taken care of. I have grandkids, and you can't, and you should not be required to always be here for everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you build that intellectual property, then, and it's serving you whether you're working or not, that's I think the goal for most of us is, how do we reach that place?
Yeah.
How do we build all those pieces into something that is going to serve us, and how do we build that team of support around us? And that's
Exactly.
exactly what most of us are asking, because life isn't about always working. Life is about living, and
Yeah.
really, 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 actually maybe even duplicating ourselves in many ways.
Well, the duplication is key. So that's where the licensing comes in. I actually, and when I say licensing, we don't have to get really illegal here. It could actually be just a business in the box where we create this amazing program that is duplicatable and that people will pay you money to use. Okay. So
Perfect.
that's what I mean by that. So I believe every single person has that in them. And I've been honored by God, I'm going to say, and gifted to be able to see that in people and help them pull that out and release them into their destiny and whatever that looks like. And then doing like a hand, kind of partnering with them in that sense. Not doing the work for them, but kind of doing it with them at the same time. And there's some of the done for you stuff that we do, but a lot of it is done with you because it's an integral part of who they are to help pull out that genius so that we can really grow them and help them go into the path that they want to go or that they desire to go, that I can help even get them there quicker. I mean, because I've been there, done that. I'm helping other people do that. Like with Vince, we did that in 5 months, but we never did that before. But we did everything the way I'm telling you. We did it from ground zero. We built everything up. He didn't have a logo. He didn't have a website. He didn't have his content. He didn't have his videos, nothing. We did it all within 5 months. Now, granted, Vince is a star pupil. Okay.
He was driven to do something
He
the
was
right way. Yeah.
driven. He was
Yeah.
really ready. And I honor that about people. If you're really ready and you're really committed, you're like, I got to do this, then this is going to be a great fit because we have all those pieces. Becky and I have all those pieces to help you go on a seamless level and keep the momentum going. Now, key is momentum. You don't want to lose momentum. A lot of people write a book and they publish it and they do nothing with it and then it loses momentum. So we want to keep that momentum going too. We want to make sure that we're really going through the required steps to keep that momentum going to get to that next level.
That's beautiful. I'm really excited about this in the sense that, without those things set up, and I've watched so many of the authors that I work with that come back. In fact, I had one, and they wrote a really cool book. I interviewed them on my show a couple months ago, and it's called Outwitting the Manipulator. And it really, really good book. And they asked me, well, my book's not selling now. What do we do? Well, there's a lot of back end pieces that I actually did not feel they were totally ready for a launch, but they wanted to push it ahead. They wanted to get it out there. They had other things coming up. And so the question, now arises, okay, why isn't my book selling? Well, are you speaking about it? Are you speaking on stages? Have you done this? Have you done that? And so far, because how busy their lives are, those things haven't gotten done.
Yeah, yeah.
And so and the book is fabulous. The information, the knowledge, and they have spent years in this industry on speech improvement and all of these type of things, and they expanded it into this subject matter just because they work with so many people that are facing things like this. And so I started asking questions. Well, what have you done this aspect? Have you done this? Well, no, we've been busy. Well, yes, I understand you are busy, but you need it to be something that will work for you, not
Right.
you work for it.
Right. And it's got to be simultaneous. I think as you're writing your book, at the same time, you've got to figure out if I'm going to take this to a publisher or somebody, they're going to want it to be marketable. They're going to want to know that I have an audience for it. They're going to want to know that there's a platform. So having that understanding that this has to take place as well as this. So you're writing the book. The book is the easiest thing you'll ever do. Everyone says the hardest thing.
And that's the hard thing for a lot of people.
Yeah. But the hard piece is really marketing it, getting the exposure that you want for your book. That's what I wrote a book. I want the exposure. Well, I wrote my book in 2014. I didn't learn any of this stuff until after the fact. So, I realized I couldn't get my book out there until I did all these other pieces. And then once I did those pieces, then they wanted my book. My book was my authority. My book was my calling card. My book got me where I needed to be. But all these other pieces took me to a greater level of authority, even a greater level of exposure. And then I was able to monetize because heck, I wanted to monetize my book. My book wasn't monetizing. I was making 25 cents a book from Amazon. I mean, you're not going to get rich that way, right? So there's other pieces and other things that you need to have in play at the exact same time as you're writing your book. Now, I know you say you're too busy, but really, if you want your book to go where you want your book, you're going to have to do these other things. You're just going to have to.
Well, and the constant question that I ask them is,
pay $50,000 to get on the New York Best Times.
Oh, well, you can do that.
You can do that.
And I'm not even certain, even at that, how many actually pick up and read your book. Maybe they do pick up your book, but do they read it? Do they
I don't know.
ever
Probably
get
not.
the benefits of your wonderful expertise? And I have considered doing that, offering that service for my authors. But we had our publishers mastermind. We had a number of the publishers decide to go into a compilation, a joint book on that, and it costs a lot of money. I opted not to, and it's for the credit. It's that credibility factor, but I think there's a lot better use of our money and our time. And if you have the things set up in the back end structure set up, maybe that's the consideration of making that choice. But if you don't have that back end set up the right way, it's not going to serve you.
Exactly. And also, I think New York Best Times Sellers is great if that's the desired goal you want to go. Not every book wants to go there. Not everybody wants to go there. They may want to do something else. Maybe they want to be a speaker and be a $25,000 speaker. There's a way to do that, but there's a system. So you can't just get a book. I mean, okay, I'm not saying it can't ever happen. It does happen. Very, very rarely. It does happen though. Where you get people and they write a book and they're the major author and they're on the Larry King show when Larry King was alive and all this other stuff. But that's really, really rare. And to hold on to that's kind of like trying to win the lotto. So you can do that. You can do that.
Publishers Clearinghouse.
Yeah. Which I've tried to do.
Yeah,
I was convinced I'm going to win, but hey, here we are.
My stepdad for 3 years now. It's going to win. I know I'm going to win.
Yeah, exactly. I was there. I really believed I was going to win. I was looking for it daily. I'm like, oh gosh, okay, that's crazy, right? So, but really, I mean, I'm not saying these things don't happen. They do, but again, that's a rare thing. So, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And let's try to beat the odds a little bit here. Let's not gamble on that, and let's be, responsible authors, and let's do our part with all the other pieces that we need so that we can have other opportunities as a speaker. Maybe we want a license, or maybe we want to just be that author that does what we do. Maybe we just want to give it away. Maybe we want to do our book to give it away. I don't know what that looks like for everybody. It's different for everybody. I'm not here to judge. Maybe they want to do a nonprofit with their book. It's whatever they want, right? Everyone has their own why of why they do it, but when you come to somebody like myself and Becky, we can literally say, okay, well, here you are, and we have all these other pieces that need to happen. So why don't we have you go here first, and then you'll be ready to come here. So it's really, I keep getting that having that alignment with the timing of putting those pieces together is going to be key as well.
Right.
I'll be ready for it.
Yes, absolutely. And it would serve if all of that can go into place before a book launch, then when their book comes to the world, it's not the same. It's not as stressful because they have all the systems in place that need to be.
And maybe they're already monetizing, and maybe they're just monetizing. Maybe they're starting to do their courses, or they're starting to put all these other pieces together.
Right.
So monetization, and then not coming from a place of, I have to get this book out there right away. But like, they can really take their time trying to get the book out there to do it right. Because I know you say some people get really rushed, and you feel really rushed when you do launches, and you want to give them your best. And by rushing things, it's not giving them the best, right? So
it is not giving. And actually, I have several authors right now that I'm working with that they're not ready. And I've said, so, we get things fixed in our head, and they have a date in mind that it needs to be.
Yeah.
And I've asked a couple of them recently. So a year from now, are you going to be crying because you didn't have a launch in June when maybe you had a launch in October and it served you so amazingly well because you were ready?
That's
because
it.
you won't a year from now, you won't think about that it was 3 months later after the date that you originally wanted it. You won't even give that a consideration because you were so ready for the whole process.
I do feel like there's a timing thing with authors. I really do feel that. And there's a readiness. Think about it. As an author, we're so focused on the download of our book. We're so focused on, especially if it's a nonfiction or a fiction book, you're in your character. You become your character as you're writing. Because I'm writing a movie right now, and I'm becoming my character. I'm like when I'm writing, I'm my characters, right? So you have to switch gears too. So you're in that mode of writing, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, and then you have to switch gears, which is a mindset thing, to be able to understand. Now I'm also a business owner. I'm also an entrepreneur, because your book is a business.
Absolutely. Yes.
So now we have to put on the business hat and keep our creative genes still flowing and juices going. But now we have to put on this side of the hat and say, okay, now how do I monetize this as a business person? How do I take this to that next level? So it's really having those two sides of the coin working at the same exact time with the mindset. Now, not saying the activities are always at the same time. I'm just saying the mindset has to be there. You have to know that you're a writer, but you're also a business person. So putting on that hat with both ideas and the mindset, and then tasking it out the way it needs to be tasked. And then when you get to that place where you have to have the business mindset, you're there. So maybe some of the preliminary work is mindset work. Let's say, okay, guys, in the beginning of our stages of writing a book, understand you're also a business person. This is a business. So let's get the mindset there. So where are we lacking in that area? And then maybe going into those pieces and saying, if they're not ready, well, where are you in your understanding of that this is a business? You're not just you're a writer, and that's great, but you're also a business person. So maybe going into that would help too.
I'm really excited about this being able to combine what we're doing, because it's one of those missing links that I have seen take place for my authors, because of the infrastructure has to be set up in order for it to really serve. And I've always said, becoming an author is not for the faint of heart, because there's so many moving parts. There's so much that needs to be done to really make it successful, to make it worth all the time and effort, and really have it serve the world in the way that we should, because we are here on this earth to serve. We're here on this earth to be an impactful influencer, to make a difference in the world. And why not set up the infrastructure so that it will serve you too?
Exactly.
Which is really, really key. So who would be, I know we've already answered this, but I want to be more succinct with this. Who would be your ideal client?
Well, I'd say actually authors, influencers, speakers, anybody like that would be actually, let me take that back. Somebody who maybe wants to be a speaker, maybe wants to be an author, maybe wants to be a influencer, because you don't have to be there to do this. It's a good place to be if you already have the authority and you already have raving fans. You can just kind of flow right into it. But not everybody does, especially if they're reinventing themselves. Remember, I had a lot of influence in the wellness industry, but I had to rebuild myself in the coaching industry as a coach's coach, which is happening quickly because I've been in a lot of articles of Forbes magazine and some other places, but it's interesting that, having the right mindset to understand that you are a writer and you are a business person is going to be the ideal person. It doesn't matter if you're there or not. It just means that you have that mindset, the understanding. It's going to take this kind of game to play and to really see success and really get the exposure that you desire, whether it's a speaker, an author, or somebody who licenses their genius.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And so for those that are listening, there's so many tools and resources that are available to us. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's all about being able to understand how to make it all come together and being open to being able to have the coaching so that you get the big picture from the onset rather than spending countless thousands and thousands of dollars trying to figure out how to make all these pieces go together. And while it does cost to pull all of this together, it's going to save you from, tremendous amount of mistakes that are made along the way. And then still having
priceless.
The question is, okay, so now I've got all this information. How do I pull it all together? How do I do it myself? Because I'm really busy, And so if you've got somebody mentoring you, if you have somebody that is right beside you, helping you to pull out those key vital pieces, then you're setting yourself up for maybe the fast track to being able to be doing well financially and succeeding in life and not being a slave to it. You have time to travel. You have time to be with your family. You have time to explore all the other wonderful, juicy things that are to life that we can explore. And otherwise, we can, as entrepreneurs, and often do, work 18 hours a day.
Yes. I'll start sometimes at 6 a.m. and I'll stop until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So it's part of the core of being an entrepreneur. And it's work and it's dedication and it's perseverance. Sometimes it's away from your family a little bit. I traveled for 7 years. I was gone every other week. I mean, that was a commitment for my business in the wellness industry, but that was the way that I had to serve my clients. And my husband was very supportive, and my son, and a lot of times they would meet me, so you always make a way that works for you and for your family. And so, it's important to me that you don't lose yourself, but you embrace the journey. You embrace, who you are and what you're called to, who you're called to serve and what you're called to do. And we all have destinies. We all have, I call it a destiny book. And we all have these destiny books. Before we were even formed, God had an amazing plan for our lives and it was already laid out. We're just stepping into it by faith. And so when you have somebody who can come and help you pull those pieces together, it just makes it a lot easier and a lot less mistakes and a lot less, what do you call it? Reversing or U-turns or going backwards, right? Which I've done many times. Yeah, exactly. So I think we all need coaches in life. I have coaches, I have mentors, and it's important. I need that. I need that, accountability. Just for accountability, for accountability, and I love challenges. I love risk. And it is a risk to put a book out there. It's a risk to do a business. It's a risk. If you don't like risk, don't be a writer. It's for sure.
Well, yeah, I have an author that her book is beautiful, and she has served out at sea in the oil and industry. On the big vessels and run big teams. And now she's doing a book called From Leadership to Hardship. Wow. And do you know the emotion that she's going through? Because this is really different. It's not being on a big vessel out in the middle of the ocean for months at a time.
Wow.
And running big teams. It's sharing some of the life lessons that she learned through that experience and really leading from the heart. And I watch her, and it's quite a journey because it's emotional for her to bring this out, to bring this to the fore. And I think I want to make an introduction because I think you'll really enjoy her. She's brilliant, very spiritually inclined, but she also has a lot of really amazing life experiences that that really have propelled her in a different way. And, so one of the things that I always say is I'm probably the luckiest person in the world to be able to work with the authors that I work with.
Yeah,
And
you get to hear
I'm
these
sure
amazing
you,
stories. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I'm sure you must be the same
Yeah,
way with the people that you get to work with.
I do.
And
Yeah, it's humbling.
you're absolutely brilliant. So we have 10 more minutes to our show. And I wanted to make sure that down below on the scrolling below is a calendar link. If you think you would like to have a conversation with us about this process, we offer a free author discovery session. And we would love to be able to speak with you. We're going to be revising because that usually before I joined Nina, Nina, this is this is
Okay, you call me
this
that.
is a
That's
link
okay.
I've always used, but we're going to expand it because we want to take you and really kind of walk hand in hand in this journey to not only becoming an author, but running using your book. Your book is a business and using it as a tool. So, in this last 10 minutes, I'd like to, I believe in the power of story.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you have an interesting story, and I know I'm throwing you a little bit of a curveball here, but I think that we all have incredible stories, and I feel that the power of story to help others really understand the journey that you have been on, and we're in the journey that has led you to be sharing your wisdom in the way you are. So would you mind to share
Yeah,
some of your
sure.
backstory?
So I was one of those people who, first of all, I'm a very strong Christian. I'm a pastor as well. So people should know that about me because it does line up with my story. And I'm a person who dreams a lot. And I had a dream of opening up a wellness center, a very big wellness center when I was a lot younger in years. And when I hear dreams, I know that God speaks to me in dreams. So I just automatically go out there and try to make it happen. That's just my type A personality. And so for 2 years, I tried to get money to open up this wellness center and nothing happened. And years later, I met my husband and I had my child, and I was sitting at having lunch and I really felt like that was the time. And I said to my husband, I said, I think I'm supposed to open up this wellness center. I'm not sure, but I really feel like this is the timing. And so my husband talked to a friend of his and I got $50,000 immediately the next day to open up my business. I'm like, okay, well, this is the timing because I tried for 2 years, nothing worked. And
Wow.
so we launched this company called Spectacular Health in Palm Desert, California. It was the first of franchises that I'd done. And in this business, in this location, we did all kinds of different things. I was like an all-inclusive program and of like health and wellness products and services. And I never did body work in my entire life. I never even knew how to do body work. And all of a sudden I saw a lady who had edema, and I had struggled with some health issues prior to this with candida, and the doctors couldn't diagnose me. So I was like bedridden for 2 years, like for 6 months out of 2 years. And that's what, prompted me to write my book, Unveil Truth, What Doctors Know Will Hurt You. So like everything I've done have been stepping stones to where I am today. So they're opportunities for like these pieces of my puzzle to come together. So I went through the illness. I got healed in the illness. I learned about the lymphatic system through a lady in Europe, which that's another whole story. And then from there, I opened up my wellness center. And in my wellness center, after about 6 weeks, I realized this woman had edema, which is a swelling ankles. And I said, let me just try something. Never went to school, never read a book, never even watched a video on how to do body work. I start working on her. No idea what I'm doing. None. She gets up off the table. She calls me the next day. She goes, whatever you did to me, the swelling is completely gone. I said, really? She's like, yeah. I have a twin sister. Can you do the same thing? I'm like, sure. So her twin sister comes in. I do the same thing on her, and she gets the same exact results. Now, this process is lymphatic. I don't know what I'm calling it. I'm just kind of doing work on it. But this process becomes a signature process. The word comes to me by God called extract, which is an acronym for cancel. X is cancel, T is toxic, R is release, A is accelerated, C is cellular, and T is transformation. And I have this outside the box lymphatic technique that nobody else has, and it becomes my own signature process. I literally franchise locations because of this process, because people are getting great results, and everything that I did along the side of this process, they got great results. So they were losing weight, they were getting better with mobility. I mean, swelling was going away. I mean, migraines were going away. I'm helping people with Lyme's disease, fibromyalgia. It was just amazing. And they're getting supernaturally delivered from things that they've been, captive of for years. So like, I mean, just crazy stuff is happening. So we open up locations, several, and then all of a sudden everything comes to a halt because I have people suing me for just lying about me. Soon I had 5 lawsuits. I went through embezzlement, judgment, bankruptcy. Everything that you can do financially went through, and I was making $50,000 to $80,000 a month. And I went down to bankruptcy because my business partner who said, "Oh, I can help you get where you need to go," was a con artist and literally took me for everything I had, lied about me, and it was just crazy stuff. So you want to talk about embracing a journey? For 3 years, I went through intense warfare, like crazy stuff. Everything that could have went wrong, went wrong. I almost went through a divorce. It was horrible stuff. But what that did is it made me more perseverant, more dedicated, more determined, and more willing to go through what I had to go through to get that process out there because I saw the healing it did. So the reason I'm saying this is because if you have something in you, no matter what you go through, don't stop. Keep your eye on the ball. Keep running the race that's set before you because there's a reason it's in you and it has to come out and people need it. So I knew that I had something that people needed. I knew I had something that was helping people get to the next level in their life. Oh, I'm doing the same thing with coaches. I know I can help people with their IP. I know I can help them go where they need to go. And it would be a disservice to them if I didn't do that. My husband's retired. We don't have to do this. We could travel. Now that COVID's gone, we could travel. But I know that I'm called to this. I know this is part of my walk, my agenda that God's given me. So I have a responsibility to God first and then other people to help them get to where they need to go. And whatever that looks like, it looks like. And I will do everything I can to help people pull that out of them so that they can have their proprietary process like I did with Extract, because it was life-changing. And I changed thousands of people's lives through this process. But if I was scared, if I was timid, and I was afraid of risk, I never would have done that. So what I'm saying is don't let fear, don't let doubt, don't let intimidation, don't let anything stop you from your dream with your book and going forward with what God put in you, because you have amazing gifts and the world needs to see your gifts.
Wow, that is beautiful. And as long as we've been talking, I didn't know this whole story.
Well, you asked.
What a beautiful story. So, as you walk this journey and your faith in God, all the things that has brought you to this point, what would your words be aside from this? Don't let anything stop you. Where do you see yourself going forward?
I actually see myself just going deeper with in this program. One Box Fits All is really what the program's called. So it's oneboxfitsall.com. And it's really, I honestly love what I do. I love helping people find their goals. So I just see myself doing this in greater measures with more people. I just love it. I mean, I wake up every single day in awe that I get to do this, humbled by God that he's chosen me for this. And I get to help people find their destinies and help them create their desires of their heart and their dreams come true. That's an amazing gift.
It's a beautiful gift. And kudos to you for listening to it. So many don't listen. And yet there are so many beautiful gifts. I think every human being has treasured gifts the world is just waiting to hear about. And we all do it. It's not any one individual. And, as we stand up and begin to share the stories like this and share what we bring to the world, it becomes that vibrational frequency of rippling out to the world and changing one person at a time. Because we choose to stand up and live. Wow, thank you for a beautiful story, and thank you for all the wisdom that you bring to the world. And I'm really delighted that we will be working together to serve.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm excited to work with you.
Cool. Very cool. With that, we are coming to the end of our show. If you would like to have a discovery session with us, follow the link that's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. This show is live on YouTube and it's on Facebook, but it's also live on E360 TV. And then we typically, which actually E360 goes to Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, and YouTube. And well, we are already on YouTube. We typically upload it also to our LinkedIn channel. So a lot of ways to get the message out. It is live on Facebook at this time too. And so we are just delighted to be able to have you. It's our expert showcase that we do. We oftentimes our next TV show is actually introducing our newest author, Betty Carew, from leadership to hardship.
Love it.
And so really excited about what's going on. Thank you, Nina.
Thank you.
I have so many Ninas.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Becky.
Thank you. And you have a delightful day. And
You
thank you
too.
for being here and listening. Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.